All right, what's up, everyone? This is Sam, coach of your Great Lakes Aces, and I'm here today to do a little breakdown of my team I drafted. Draft just finished today, and for the UDL Underdog Draft League in the Arcanine division. Um, so this was an interesting draft format. It was an auction draft. So basically, each coach was given 200 points to fill 11 slots. There was a minimum of one tier one tier two tier threes, two tier fours, and a tier five. There was a snake draft style nomination order, so when it was your turn, you nominate something with a starting bid, and then you don't have to necessarily even stay in on it if you don't want to. Um, and so it turned out very chaotic, um, and hard to plan for, but it was fun. It definitely yeah, like I said, the chaos sometimes was kind of crazy, and it made our original plan fall through. But that being said, this was our original plan. So, um, as you can see, I was going for some value picks in the tiers. For example, Pincurchin in tier 4, Orangaroo tier 4, um, Glaceon tier 5 were all good high value low tier picks. And I knew this was very ambitious because of that. And I knew I wasn't the only one to see those as high value picks. Um, so I knew that, when I put this specific plan together, it was subject to change. Um, what I didn't consider was Glaceon actually went round one, and it went for 20 something points, I want to say. Way more than I was willing to spend on a tier 5. Um, so basically from there, I still wanted to go Metagross. The tier 5 slot was easily replaceable. There was a lot of good value in tier 5 to be had. And so I decided to stick with the original plan, just replace Glaceon with something else. Well, Metagross became an interesting situation. So I drafted a couple low tiers. I drafted Pincurchin and Orangaroo, and then I got to a certain point and I'm like, okay, I really need to get Tornadus here because if someone outbids me on this and I can't get it, I need to know now so that I can change my plan. Because if I draft everything around it and then I don't get it, I'm in a bad spot. So I was like, okay, I need to get Tornadus, and so I ended up in a bidding war with two other people, and I got it for 50 points, which was expensive, but with the team I had planned, I knew that it was okay. Um, but then one of the other coaches, Kyle, reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, we talked about Metagross. I'm going for it too." And at this point, he had like 190 something points. He had one Pokemon. I had three. I had dropped almost half my points already, and I was like, "Okay, I am ditching Metagross because I can't afford to get in this bidding war. I might as well just take something else because this is going to be way too hard for me to get, and it's going to make my budgeting for the rest of my team really, really tight." And so, because of that, also Entei looked worse because Entei was, not only a fire type, but he could also bulldoze for Metagross. But I'm about to go through all those individual mons now, and I think that the on the fly adaptations that I made, as well as I got to give some credit to Toxic Crusader. He helped me a lot with this team, and I think the adaptations that I made actually made the team a lot better. So I'm gonna go top tier down to bottom tier. This is not the order I drafted them in because I really feel like the order I drafted them in matters whole lot less in an auction format because you can just nominate anything at any time. But that being said, we're gonna start with Tornadus. So Tornadus is one of the glue pieces on this team. Um, it has obviously the thing that stands out the most about it is Prankster Tailwind, right? It has a lot of other good prankster moves. Leo's Scary Face Taunt. It has good stab moves. Fly's not good, but with Defiant sets you can run Fly and then Dynamax it. It gets nice moves like U-Turn and Icy Wind and Fling. Stuff that are, maybe some niche kind of utility options. But first off, its stats are really good. The bulk is serviceable, although not incredible. But the offenses are what, and speed are immaculate. um, 125 special attack is really, really high, as well as the 111 speed means you're outspeeding a pretty good chunk of things, plus you're getting Prankster Tailwind off, and I believe you're outspeeding most Prankster Mons. You're outspeeding Lipard and Meowstic. I believe you outspeed all Prankster Mons, which is really, really good because that means you can't even really get Prankster taunted. But as you can see, it gets a lot of good coverage. It gets good utility moves, so it's a really versatile piece. And the Defiant set, while it's probably not quite as potent as the Prankster set, I really do think that on my team, the Defiant set actually will probably come quite a bit, because our next mon to talk about is Cinderace. Real big shocker, I know. Wakeman took Cinderace. What a surprise. But everyone knows that I love this Pokemon. It's one of my favorite Pokemon to use. Very similar, in my opinion, stat line to Tornadus. Good attack, good speed, middling bulk. The low special attack is actually nice because it's not a legendary. Its base stats are generally lower, so having low special attack is nice. Basically, Libero, everything is stab, hence the LOL in coverage, because everything is stab. Just a really great mon, very more versatile than people realize. Obviously, he gets a lot of good attacks and coverage. Fire Pledge, which will work with the next mon we're going to talk about. Feint, Super Fang, good utility moves, good pivots with U-turn, but then also stuff like Coaching, Taunt, Court Change, Helping Hand. Really, really, really solid support options as well. I've run support Cinderace. This is going to be... I used it in VBA Season 2 and 3 and in GLDL this season. So this is going to be my 4th time drafting Cinderace. So you could say I'm familiar. I'm familiar with what the mon does. But yeah, I love this mon. It's always done well for me. All my best placements in leagues have been with this mon on my team, and I'm really excited to use it again, especially on this team. So next up is Primarina. So Primarina is, I think it was slightly over tiered in tier 1, but I felt that the opportunity cost of taking a slightly the value was in a vacuum a little low. We did get it for 1 point, which is really nice. Nobody else seemed to want it. We got Cinderace for 35, which, considering how good Cinderace is, I consider that a steal. But steal really is 1 point for Primarina. Water Fairy is a phenomenal typing. Probably everybody under the sun has seen what this mon does. It's mostly just a good, bulky offensive piece. The physical defense obviously is not quite there, but the special defense and special attack are insanely high. So the speed tier is one of the main things that I think holds Primarina back. But the nice thing is, on a team like mine, base 60 can outspeed everything under Tailwind, and it can function kind of decently under Trick Room, especially with things like Room Service or Iron Ball. And we did grab a Trick Room setter. We'll cover that later. But Primarina just covers a lot of things for Cinderace really well. It starts our Fire Water Grass core. On top of, being a very good Dynamax option, good Scarfer, I think, even though you can't outspeed base 130s. Decent Scarfer, really great late game cleaner with stuff like Calm Mind, Liquid Voice, Hyper Voice. Good coverage, really, really phenomenal mon. I've never drafted it, and I've always seen this mon do well, so I'm really excited to try it. So next up, for our first tier 2 slot, we took Serena for 6 points. So this completes our Firewater Grass core, and I've drafted Serena twice before, so this is my 3rd time using it. It gets incredible coverage. Triple Axel, play rough, high jump kick are usually, I think, the most common, but things like Zen headbutt and bounce can work, especially if you're Dynamaxing it and want airstreams. Drop kick is nice for lowering attack, and still doing decent stab damage because it has a base 120 attack stat, which is really high. Another mon with a really middling speed tier that is kind of would normally be really, really lackluster, but on a team with debatably the most consistent tailwind setter, if not top 2, that speed tier becomes really good. Oh, I should actually, Whimsicott outspeeds Tornadus, but I think other than that, they're all slower, I think. But yeah, pretty decent bulk. 72, 98, 98 is pretty solid. It's a great Dynamax candidate, but to me, the abilities are where it really shines. Sweet Veil is not super commonly used, but against teams with like multiple means of sleeping your stuff, I think it's really solid. I've used it before and it won me a game. But Queenly Majesty is just absurd. All priority moves targeted into your team fail, and that means normally a mon like Tornadus or a prankster user in general is huge fake out bait, because if you fake it out and then attack it with the partner, it will die, and then suddenly there's no tailwind. So being able to stop fake out as well as other prankster things just in general is super, super good. I'm very excited about the potential of using this mon in tandem with Tornadus. And yeah, I'm just really excited to use it. I think I've used it. I've drafted it twice before, but I think this is probably the best supported it's been on one of my teams. So next up, we have Alolan Persian in tier 2. We got it for 1 point, which is kind of ridiculous, but we take it. For stabs, I mean, you're not attacking a whole lot with this thing usually. I've used this in 2 other seasons as well, and it's been broken because it's a ridiculously good Pokemon. Base 115 attack, and then you'd think that the other stats are all pretty terrible, but then you look at Fur Coat, the ability, and Fur Coat essentially gives you double defense stat. And so investing in defense with Persian gives you much more benefit than any other stat, as well as just the defense in a mon without Fur Coat, because essentially your investment yields double the increase. So it can live absolutely ridiculous moves. Like I think I've calced it to live in Urshifu close combat. I know it's against me. It's been used and lived a Life Orb Azumarill play rough. But yeah, it's so good. It gets really fast fake out, icy wind, snarl. Snarl is one that I've used a lot, as well as like stab foul play is super great to have on any team. But on top of that, parting shot, switcheroo, fake tears, taunt, quash, screech, charm, hypnosis, that entire support move pool I listed is just insanely useful. And I like it's just it's one of those mons. It's like you always think, okay, well, generally the rule in Pokemon is you trade out bulk for speed, or you trade out speed for bulk, but this mon gets both. On the physical side, obviously the special side is really frail, but this mon gets both, and it's really crazy. It's like in certain matchups, like I don't know, when I ran it in another league, it was 2 seasons of the first league I ever did. Because they had it tiered ridiculously low, like tier 3 or 4, I think. I'm pretty sure, I don't think I ran Sash on it hardly at all, because it just lives things, and you can put the Sash on something else. This team is gonna have a lot of things that want to run Sash, so I think that's really nice. But yeah, I'm super high on this Mon. It's super good. I could talk all day about it. We're gonna move on to Regidrago. So, um, some of you may see this and think this is absolutely hysterical, and you're not wrong. um, sorry, allergies. And you're not wrong. This is pretty funny. So basically, many people may remember me as a massive Regidrago hater. I rated a team in Great Lakes Draft League Season 1 really low because it drafted it, and I just couldn't see why it was good. It only uses dragon moves, all this. And then I've seen it used in a few leagues since then, and it's ridiculous. 100 special attack with the 1.5, with the boost from Dragon's Maw is so high. And Dragon Energy being basically just Dragon type Eruption, but then also having the options of running, you can run physical stuff. You can hit fat breaking swipes with this Mon. You can, Dragon Pulse, Draco Meteor, Dragon Claw, like it can run physical, it can run special. It's just absurd, and the bulk is really solid because you never have to invest in its 200 base HP stat. So the 50 defenses are almost always invested. And while this Mon doesn't really get a whole lot in terms of support, it just the damage output it pressures on the opponent is so strong. And it's another Mon, again, 80 speed, works super great under Tailwind. And then the other thing that's really nice is, like, normally, 80 is a good Scarf tier, right? But you can use Scarf plus Tailwind to outspeed weather modes. You can use Specs plus Tailwind to just outspeed normal stuff and then nuke things. Yeah, the Mon is absurd, and I got it for 1 point as well. Absolutely a steal. It forms part of our fantasy core as well with Primarina and I think it's our next Mon. No, it's in a couple of Mons, but we have a steel type as well. I'm super stoked to use this Mon. I'm really looking forward to it. Next up is Marowak. So Marowak actually does a lot of things for my team. I got it for 3 points in tier 3, which again I felt very good about. My main thing with this format, right, was with the maximum for tier 3s and tier 2s was 3 of each tier. So obviously, right, you look at that and you want to say, okay, I take all my minimums and then I take 2 extra tier 1s and 2 extra tier 2s, and that's theoretically, in a vacuum, the highest value you could get. Not every team did that, and not every team had to do that, and a lot of teams that didn't would have been worse if they did. But that being said as well, I really wanted to emphasize taking good low tiers, because in a format like this where everyone's grabbing a million high tiers, having low tiers that can actually, like, come to any match is super duper good in my opinion. And Marowak is just a beast. Speed stat 45, usable in Trick Room, but it can also outspeed base 130s like Tapu Koko under Tailwind, which is really nice, and it's a great partner for Tornadus because you can click Tailwind Earthquake. There's the Defiant possibility from Tornadus to scare away Intimidate from it. And then the other thing too is Lightning Rod. And Lightning Rod protects our Primarina and our Tornadus from electric moves. And that just makes it an even better partner for Tornadus on lead. And then it also gets good coverage on top of it. That's supposed to be Fire Punch, not Fang. But which is better than Fang. But yeah, this Mon is so good. It's another it is another Mon that doesn't have much in terms of support or status moves or anything like that. But just in terms of, like, just raw damage output, but again, it just puts so much positional pressure on the opponent. And then there's always the possibility of, like, will he switch in Lightning Rod? You know, like, will he switch? Can I click an electric move here? Does he even have Marowak in the back? It's a super good mind game tool as well. And then with Fit Club, it just hits absurdly strong calcs, and it's just so good. So I'm really excited. This is actually another one I've used before, but also really excited. So here is the final piece of our fantasy core, Lucario. Got him in tier 3 for 1 point, and Lucario is always a mon I felt really weird about because, you know, its stats are good but not great. Its move pool is really, really nice. And it gets it gets 2 good abilities, 1 not so much. Steadfast is kind of useless. But I think this mon is a super duper good piece on this comp. First off, having inner focus with moves like coaching and even Howl. You probably always want to run coaching, but I guess if you want the Lucario to do damage too, Howl can work. Scary Face even for speed control. But just inner focus in general is super good. Puts it at a good speed tier to run Scarf coaching with inner focus into Cinderace or Tornadus or whatever. Really, most of my team, honestly. Can run physical or special sets. Gets priority in both its stabs from physical and special sides. Gets good stab moves for both physical and special. Gets tons of absurdly good coverage. This is kind of another, to me, this is similar to Cinderace on this team in that it's a very versatile role. Like I really don't like I could really see myself bringing offensive or support on any given week. And then there's the added bonus of we can run justified sets next to Persian with beat up. So I just have a lot of options with this mon. It also, at the time I took it, was growing a little bit of a rock and ice weakness, and this handles those extremely comfortably. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to use this one as well. Next up is Pincurchin. So I got this mon first round. 20 points, tier 4. This mon should not have been tier 4. It's absurdly strong. So, base stats, not too great, right? 101 attack is decent. 15 speed is phenomenal for Trick Room. Or, more accurately on my team, more of an anti-Trick Room type mon. But really, the thing about this mon is base 91 special attack with rising voltage on electric surge or on electric terrain set up by its own electric surge is absolutely disgustingly strong. It just kills everything, and it can discharge too. It can run physical sets with Zing Zap, Sucker Punch, Liquidation, Poison Jab, and then all of those special water moves, Memento and Recover you can do. But I think this mon provides a very, very meaningful means of Trick Room discouragement, I guess. Because this mon outspeeds pretty much everything under Trick Room. And so yeah, they can set Trick Room, but they're going to be taking rising voltages. Like there's almost nothing they can do to stop it. Because it outspeeds almost everything under Trick Room. So I in my opinion, it provides very, very, very meaningful Trick Room discouragement on a team that otherwise is very, very Trick Room soft, and really does not want Trick Room to go up. And then to pair with that, we got Oranguru. This was our second pick. We got this for 3 points in tier 4. And this mon is just basically a Trick Room setter. Well, it's a Trick Room setter with a twist. It gets inner focus, telepathy, and symbiosis, all of which are very, very usable. I would say inner focus and telepathy are more generally useful, but I have seen symbiosis sets occasionally. First off, 90, 80, 110 is pretty good bulk, especially on the special side. Like, you can count this to live a lot. 60 speed isn't really ideal for Trick Room, but it's another one of those things where I can run this under Tailwind and use it as an instruct bot if I really want to. And it's really not bad in that way. Get some coverage. I'm probably not going to be using it very much, but it exists. 90 special attack is not is not insignificant. With stuff like expanding force for opposing psychic terrain, you're then probably just going to be running psychic usually. Yeah, I think this mon in tier 4 was an absolute steal. It provides me a nice Trick Room setter, but I can instruct things like I can set Trick Room and then instruct Rising Voltage and get 2 Rising Voltages out from my Pincurchin. I can run Telepathy and then go instruct Earthquake into Marowak. I can even instruct like discharges from Pincurchin or hyper voices from Primarina. I have so many good instruct targets on this team, and like I just think that this mon might even just come more as an instruct bot than as a Trick Room setter. But it works nicely in both those roles. Inner Focus Trick Room is very consistent. If you run Mental Herb or a Berry or something, you can pretty much guarantee it. Especially with like a fake out user next to it, like Persian. But yeah, it gets some other stuff like screens and after you and safeguard and encore and yawn, taunt, like you just stack things on. It's like, wow, this mon is really, really good. Terrain Pulse isn't even insignificant on my team either because I can always run it on electric terrain, But yeah, another mon that I thought just fit really well for our plan. And then our tier 5, and this was one that this changed a lot on our plan. Glaceon was on our plan, then Glalie. I looked at base Rotom, but I settled on Kadabra. So Kadabra is an interesting mon. It provides me a few things, and they're not necessarily things I don't have already, but they're things that I didn't necessarily mind having more of, if that makes sense. Base 105 speed, 120 special attack is really, really, really good for a tier 5. Like, this thing is almost always going to have to run Sash, but it's still going to, it's going to do a chunk when it's alive. And with Psychic, with Expanding Force, Psyshock, Stabs, with not insanely good coverage, but Dazzling Gleam, Energy Ball, Shadow Ball is still good coverage. It at least gets coverage for dark types. And then stuff like Foul Play, and then a whole slew of good of good supporting options. I thought, for a tier 5, it's pretty good. It's gonna do some damage if I ever need, because I have a Psychic type, right, in Oranguru, but I really didn't have like an offensive Psychic type, and I really like to have those. So I thought this mon looked really good. I also got it for 1 point, so it was pretty much free. But yeah, that being said, just my overall thoughts on the team. I think I'm going to be 100% honest. I think this team is absurdly broken. It's the best team I've ever drafted. It probably ranks among some of the best teams I've ever seen, and I don't say that to like toot my own horn. Like I said, like Toxic Crusader helped me with this a little bit, but not a lot actually. But I like the team. The team is ridiculous. Good spread of speed tiers from like 15 to 116. I'd like to have a base 130, but all my stuff can outspeed that pretty much with Tornadus. This is this is my kind of team as well. Everyone knows, I'm an Ooga Booga hyper offense player. And this is a hyper offense team to the millionth degree. And then the other thing too is like, um, I realized that one of the weaknesses it might have is it might be kind of soft to Trick Room, like opposing Trick Room, but stuff like Oranguru, Marowak, and especially Pincurchin feels like really good TR discouragement. Like, yeah, like I said before, like, yeah, you can set Trick Room, but Pincurchin is going to be hitting you with base 15 speed, terrain boosted rising voltages, and you're not going to like that. So, like, setting Trick Room against this team is an invitation for Pincurchin to come out and kill stuff. Like, I'm just I could not be happier about how this team turned out. I think every piece is gonna come at least a couple times, even stuff like Kadabra and stuff like that. But like especially other than Kadabra, I think this looks like a team where I might actually struggle every week to like narrow down to 6 mons. Um I'm really high on this team. I think it's absurdly busted. I think that the format, I I somewhat abused the auction and the tier list to just get kind of absurd value and an absurdly good team. I'm super excited to use it. I have lots of flexibility on this team as well. Like while there aren't any super crazy defined modes other than like Persian and Lucario and like I guess Oranguru something for Trick Room, like anything can go next to anything here. Lucario and Cinderace can click coaching into half the team. Um, Marowak and Regidrago and Prim and Pincurchin all like to be next to instructs from Oranguru. Oh yeah, Regidrago's another one. Yeah, I mean, instructing Dragon Energy, like that's crazy good. Um, Tornadus is a super great prankster tailwind setter for the team. Sarina's super good next to it. Marowak is super good next to it. Cinderace is super good next to it. Regidrago, like literally the whole team is just good next to everything else. And I'm just the synergy here. While it's not like, oh, this core is so broken. Like this lead is gonna mess me up every week, or like this lead is gonna mess people up multiple times. It's more like I think it makes it harder to prep for because, like, yeah, okay, maybe I narrowed it down to okay, Tornadus is coming on lead, but what's next to it? Is it Persian? Is it Serena, Primarina, Cinderace, Lucario, Marowak, Regidrago? It could be anything, and I'm super like geeked that like the team worked out the way it did because, uh, I just think it's broken. um, and yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Oh, I also, I just want to reiterate too, like the Defiant option from Tornadus, I think is really overlooked on a lot of Tornadus comps. My team with Serena, Cinderace, and Marowak especially doesn't really want to be intimidated, and against teams with strong Intimidate options, I think that the ability to run Defiant, and even just the threat of the ability to run Defiant, I think is super good. And I think that I am going to have a lot of fun with the team, and I think I think I have a shot to do well with it. I think it's one of the better teams in the division, and it fits my style super well. Also, my speed control options, the Tornadus and Oranguru, are color coordinated, not intentionally, but they're exactly the same colors. Um, but yeah, that being said, I don't know how many people are going to watch this. I'd love to hear thoughts on the team. I'm always open to questions about any thought processes or whatever, or just, hey, your team sucks. You could tell me that too. I think, you'd be wrong, but you could express that. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I'm super excited for this season, and I'll catch you guys next time.